What's up, guys? Have you ever wanted to make your Subaru do this? More easily than it already can? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to do that step by step, and all you really need is a switch and a little knowledge, but I'm going to show you. So if any of you guys are new to Subarus or maybe even new to the channel, Subaru has a really good all-wheel drive system, but it's not a perfect 50-50 split, and it doesn't have lock differentials that most people use for off-road, because on-road, lock diffs is not a good thing. So because of that, Subaru uses a viscous differential, and what that means is once one wheel starts spinning, it basically lets the other wheels know, hey, this one doesn't have traction, so we're going to send power to the other wheels, which is great. That's what all-wheel drive systems do. However, that takes time. You have to have a wheel spin before the other wheels start getting traction, more power and torque is sent to those wheels.
With power flowing continuously to all wheels, it senses the loss of traction and sends more power to the right rear wheel, allowing it to find its grip and move the vehicle up the ramp.
So what this mod is going to do is it's going to lock that center differential so both wheels are spinning and you don't have to wait, which is great for off-roading. And if you guys are wondering, this works for a Subaru transmission, the 4-speed, so a 4EAT transmission. This is what it works for. I know you can do this on other ones, but this specifically is what I'm going to be doing mine for. There's a slight difference between if you have a turbo model and a non-turbo model, but I'll go over that too. So how this works is actually pretty simple. Your car has an ECU, which is basically the brains of your whole car, but you also have something else. It's called a TCM, which is your transmission control module, or I mean TCU. It's a transmission control box, and what that box does, just like your ECU, is it's the brains for your transmission. So when I was talking about when one wheel starts to slip and it says, hey, we need to send power to the other wheels, that's what that box is doing. All we have to do is jump in there, grab one wire from that, and put it on this little switch, put it through here, and a few other things on here, of course, but that's the main thing that we have to deal with. Basically telling it, hey, we're getting slippage, with the push of a button. And with that push of the button, you have a locked diff, and you can go off-roading in the snow, in the rock, in dirt, in sand, whatever, without having that lag and having a freaking awesome Subaru off-road vehicle more than it already is. Let's get into it. And of course, before we get this bad boy started, we're dealing with wiring. So we're gonna disconnect the negative side of the battery. Get away from there. Just leave you up there. Don't move, don't move. We're good, stop. Now I'm gonna do the best I can to show you, because we're gonna be working under here with the wiring, and it's not always the easiest to see. So we're gonna come under here, and I'm gonna show you exactly what we're gonna be looking at. So the easiest way to show you this is to use my cell phone, because it's the only thing small enough to fit up in here. So you've got the brake pedal, and then if you follow the brake pedal up, you'll see the wires. I've already got them disconnected. So if you look up, if I move these out of the way and you look to the left, it's gonna be right there. These wires normally connect into it, and if you look over to the side, that it's what it's gonna look like. LH
It might be a little bit different if you're possibly in another country, but for the US, it's gonna say LH up there. That's the one that you need. Then you're gonna have to grab the large one. I've got both of these pulled out so you can see this one's just really small. For turbo, it's gonna be 3. For non-turbo, you're only gonna have 2. But for the turbo version, this is what you're gonna have. We're gonna need the big one. So I'm gonna keep this one out, and I'm gonna grab this one and plug it back in. So we're gonna be working on this one. All right, so I have it pulled forward so you can have a better look at what it is. Like I said, this one's gonna be the largest one out of the 3 on the turbo model. And I'll go ahead and put up the wiring diagram, but what we're gonna look for is the top and the bottom, and you can tell that by there's 2 different brakes. So if we look on here, compared to the wiring diagram, we've got 2 brakes. We've got one right there that has no pins, and one right there that has no pins. And then up top, we've got one right here that has no pins. So depending on which wiring diagram you use, or if you just look at the one that I have, you can see where exactly we're at on here. So we need to find pin number 4. Pin number 4 is gonna be up on this row, and it's gonna be 4 in, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a white-green wire. So to get to this, I'm gonna open this up so I can cut it up here. If you cut it down here, it's very, very, very difficult because you can only work with a little bit of wire from there. You can also depin it from here, pop it out and do it that way if you want, but then you'll have to find something to go back into here because we need a wire that goes to the TCM, so that box up there, and then from the solenoid, which is coming from, say, over here through the wire harness into the TCM. So we've got one in and basically out, which is solenoid TCM. Okay, so basically what I did is I unwrapped the covering that goes around this, and then it also had some electrical tape. I got that off so we can get to the wires. Found that white-green wire that we need in pin number 4. Took it out, cut it, and once you cut it, you can actually bring it to the outside because the white-green wire is like right on the inside of all this stuff. So I brought it on to the outside on both, stripped back the wire so you can see it, twisted it up a little bit. Now it's gonna be a lot easier to get some of your own wire, strip it back, connect it onto there. I am gonna solder this. It's just, I wanna test this all out, make sure it's good before I solder it together and make it permanent. So I'm just gonna be twisting all these for now. So let's get into how we're gonna wire it up to our switch. So something I actually found out about this switch is it's 120 volts or 240 volts. It'll say on here on the side, and it will not turn on for your normal 12 volts that are running through your car. So I should have just got a normal one that doesn't light up because there's no use. You gotta figure out where you're gonna put your switch. Now for me, I took out my fuse little, not the fuse box, but the fuse handle that's here. It's like a little change thing. That guy over there. You take that out, you just pull that out. There's no buttons or anything. You just kind of pop that out. Then you can reach your hand up in here and you can pull out blank switches. These are the only 2 that work on here and the only things I have. So I took out 2 of these. And how to take those out, it's actually very simple. On the inside, you just, I mean, it's gonna be like this. On the inside, you just kind of squeeze those tabs and you push out. So that's all you gotta do, and they pop out this way. And the cool thing about the switch I have, I'll link it in the description below for if you guys wanna do this. This switch fits perfectly in here. I'm not gonna do it yet. It fits perfectly in here, and once you push it back, it'll actually click into place with the little tabs on here. It fits perfectly. Now, it's not as outside and flush as these ones, because once you actually put this thing back, it's gonna be kind of recessed back in there, but still, it's better than drilling a hole in your plastics and having a random switch in there. This looks a lot cleaner in my opinion. So now I know where that's gonna be. I can take this out, or I pop it into place, and I need to measure the wire from here to down here, because that is where one of the wires is gonna go on the back of my switch. All
All right, before I get too into the wiring, I gotta tell you about the switch. This is called a double pull, double throw. Now, this is the specific one I'm using. I'll link it down below, like I said, so you guys don't have to try to find it. It's on Amazon, it's cheap. Basically what this is there's 6 here on the back. So the 2 in the middle are gonna be your constant ones. The ones on top is when you switch it down like that. Then these are gonna be active, and the ones on the bottom. I'll show you the wiring diagram so you guys know what it's gonna look like in the end. This mod is not something you want to keep on. This is basically like a 4 low. You want to do this just off-road at slow speeds. Okay, so far we have the wire stripped, ready to go. I've got my location for my switch, so I've measured wires, 3 of them, because that's what we need. We need 3 wires from this switch to that wire harness down there. And then after that, I need power. Now, I don't think power is necessary for non-turbo, but it is definitely necessary for turbo. Next step is to get power. So, what I did is I took off this little tab over here so I could shift this all the way down to first gear. If you don't know how to take this off, it's just twist. You grab the handle, twist it off, boom, that's what it looks like. Now I need to take this panel off because what I'm gonna use is a cigarette lighter for a 12-volt power source. So we just come under here and pop that up, and I've already got this unplugged so I can show you very easily. All you have to do is move this out, and once you have that all the way down, it'll come out to about here. That is so you can come in here and pinch that connector from this connector. You just pinch it off, pull it out, so you'll be able to pull out this whole thing, and boom, now you're in here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw power from this one. This is your 12-volt accessory. So I'm not gonna cut it, I'm just gonna open up this little plastic sheath here, and I'm gonna get a wire and just connect it onto that. So every time my key is ignition or on, I'll have that 12-volt power, and when the key's off, it just won't be there. That's how I want it. I don't need constant 12-volt on that. I don't really see a reason why you would need your diff locked when you're not in the car. Anyway, that's where I'm gonna get that. So I have to get some wire, measure it from where it would be here, trace it all the way around to where my switch will be. So for resistor to ground, like I said, this is temporary. So I've got 1 wire going up to my resistor, and then the resistor, a really good place to put this if you are mounting it right here in one of these switches is kind of hard to see, but if you look through the switch hole up here, right there in the back, you can see there's a screw. Right back there, if you want to, you can have your fuse panel opened up, and you can look up in here, and that's where it is right up there. There's a metal bar that's a bracket for this whole thing. You can see all the way up there. It's a 10 millimeter. I just got my socket on there, popped it open, and behind the nut I put the wire. That's a really good place to put it once everything's said and done. So I've got that up here with a long wire just to reach it so I can have everything out here and test it. But that's a good place once you get everything set up. Alright, so this is how we have everything set up so far. Our power, that one's coming from our cigarette lighter. And then right next to it, this one down in the bottom right, that one is going to our solenoid to ground. And then the 2 that I just put in, the top left and the middle right, these 2 are going to the same place. Those are going to the TCM. So you can see I have them wired up right here. This one's going to the TCM, so right next to the wiring harness where it connects in. And then to the solenoid is the one up here that goes up into the wiring harness into happy land of you don't know where it's at. So this is the last one we need to tap into, so I'm going to put a wire on here, and then we're going to come down here and wire it to this last one. Alright, so I'm sitting in the car, I'm ready to test everything out, And let's just go over this one more time so we have a perfect understanding of where everything's going. All right, so I'm about to test everything out, and I have everything set up the way it should be, and I'm just gonna quickly go over everything again. So right now, I have it wired to this being the off position and this being the on position. So once I flip it up, power is gonna go, or not power, but it's gonna recognize the 2 down here. If you have a powered switch, it's wired a little differently, but this is how this one's set up. It's in the off position, so that means this one right here, this one's gonna go to our solenoid, so the one that's furthest up on our wire harness, the one that we cut that goes up here. And then the 2 that I have hooked up to the bottom of the wire harness, that one's gonna be upper left and mid right. The top right is nothing, that's not gonna be anything. The lower left is gonna be our power, and the right is to our resistor, to the ground. And this power one I have set up over here. You can see this, I just stripped back the wire on the power, which is the red. I got my volt tester, and I've got 12 volts coming from this one. So I've got this running through, and I've got it wrapped around here temporarily. Everything's plugged back in. I unplugged it to make it a lot easier, but if you want to, you can unplug this, the whole thing will come out. So this one I've got wrapped around. I'll get 12 volts to that when I turn the key. So this is accessory power. This isn't a constant 12 volt, which I don't understand why you would want a 12 volt, or a constant 12 volt. That's why I did it here, just for when the vehicle's on, I can use this locker. So I've got everything set up exactly where I need it. So first step is to start up the car and see if we get a check engine light. But first I gotta find my keys. All right, so I got my key. I plugged the wire harness back up into the transmission control unit, and over here, this is the only thing that I don't have buttoned back together, just because there's no reason to. I mean, it's just a piece of plastic, but I've got everything hooked up, plugged back in, and now to see if we get any explosions. And we're good. Looks like the only thing I have on is brake, but my e-brake is on, so let's take that off. And there we go. We don't have any sort of check engine lights. So now, what we're gonna do to check, to make sure if this works, right now it's in the off position. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to open part of my parking lot, and we're gonna go in circles. And that's exactly how it's gonna work. You're gonna turn your steering wheel full lock one way, and your car should, I mean, if you're doing this, you're in an automatic, so your car should pull itself forward with the, with your torque converter without even touching the gas pedal. You should just be slowly crawling at full tilt, and then once you flip that switch, you should start binding up so the car will stop. That means it's working. All right, so I've got it full tilt right now, and I am just chilling around the parking lot, slowly going in a circle. And now I'm gonna flip the switch, and we stop. Now I'm going to, I've got it down here. I'm gonna flip it back. There's a little clunk, and the car starts rolling again. Let me give it a little bit of gas. I am on kind of an incline here. And just like that, because you don't want to give it gas when this thing's on. So, get a little bit of momentum, hit the switch, and everything binds up. Get it back. There's a nice little clunk there because I bind up quite a bit, and now we're rolling again. So everything is beautiful down here, is working. So now I can button this all up and really try to get some solder over here in my parking lot of no outlets. And then I'm gonna have it put right over here so it looks beautiful and sexy and accessible. And there we go. I'm finally finished. I got everything cleaned up, looking good. I still have to put the knob back on that. So there we go. Everything's looking good, cleaned up. The one thing I am gonna say, I'll link this. There's a one exactly like this one, exact same size. However, it has no light. It's just black, just like this. So I'm gonna order one of those and replace this one. So I think that's gonna blend in a lot more. I was hoping for a light, but I really like this one because it's the only one I found that fits in here just perfectly. Like, it's in here just right. I don't have to worry about it popping out. I got another switch and it's just way too big. I'd have to Dremel out something, and I really don't want to do that. So this is absolutely perfect. I'm gonna switch it so it's a different color and I don't have to worry about that red sticking out. But I really think that fits in perfectly. I don't have wires and I also don't have anything drilled out in my center console. It fits in just like it should. And if I ever want to put it back to normal, I can just pop this one back in, and I don't have to, if I did it down here, I don't have to worry about a big old hole or something like that. So that was awesome. This is a really great thing, especially for winter coming around. I can just click that on and boom, I've got 4-wheel lock. I'm like a real off-roaderer